Welcome to the very first VexX podcast. Today we're going to talk about some general gaming things, give you an overview of VexX, what you can expect to see in the future on our podcasts, and some other topics. So we'll get right into it. My name's Hal Razor, and I am the CEO of VexX. We're going to be watching Irony today play some APB while we do our podcast.
Hey guys.
And Malice will also be joining in us with the discussions today. What you can expect in the future from our podcast, this is kind of a rough draft of what we're going to be doing. Some things will be changing in the future. So hopefully you'll enjoy what we have to offer, and hopefully we can adapt and accommodate people as we move along. I just want to bring one thing up, that we do have a contest going on right now at VexGaming.com. People that want to join in on that, you could win some prizes. So please go ahead and check that out. Well, first of all, we'll have a topic, Tera Online, which is a game that VexX is going to be really heavy playing. We don't have the leader from that division on today, so it's just going to be me and Malice talking about the game and what we can expect from it. And I'll go ahead and let Malice start talking about Tera a little bit, and maybe we'll pose some questions about what we think.
Well, given my brief experience with Tera, the combat style seems to sort of change what most people expect from MMOs. You've got 8 years of World of Warcraft now that most people will consider general, and consider the way that PvP is and the way that gameplay is for MMOs, and SWTOR reinforced that. But Tera now is completely, it's an action MMO. Even more so than Age of Conan, which I think also pushed the bill and pushed that combat style into being known and loved. However short-lived, AOC did not last long, but Tera seems to be coming up with to be the prominent action MMO experience that hopefully lasts a lot longer than AOC did.
Yeah, we can all hope that.
And with this combat style brings options that guild communities can put together, groups that actually matter formation-wise and coordination-wise. What you do, when you do it, how you move, all important things to be successful in Tera, which a lot of guilds don't have experience with these days. Maybe back in the days of Darkfall, which unfortunately did not last very long, you may have experience with, but if you haven't played Darkfall, you haven't played AOC, and you're not familiar with the action combat, Tera is going to be, a new learning experience for you, and I know it will be for me as well.
Yeah, see, I come from a background on those kinds of games, and I agree with you that this is going to bring back it's kind of like a chess game while you're playing. You're moving strategically, you're always working towards a goal with your group, and that's been something that's been missing, meaningful at least, in MMOs, other than, gear progression. So I think that's bringing something back to MMOs that people are really going to enjoy, and I think that Tera is going to do well based on that.
I hope to see the PvP community comfortably between Guild Wars 2 and Tera. I think that both games are going to find themselves with a similar group of players, but one player or another will find their way in between the two games. I'm almost positive. I don't think that there's going to be many PvPers playing the tab target style of MMO for much longer. I think that Guild Wars and Tera took the first step into the direction of, this is what games should be. It's 2012. It's a new year. It's an advanced year. Our technology is here. Our interests are here. The years of tab targeting has burned people out. Unfortunately, when they see tab target, they see, okay, I can be comfortable with this. But in the end, it's just going to bore them more than it's going to keep their attention. And with Tera, they're coming out prior to Guild Wars. They're going to be heading up that combat style. Unfortunately, AOC no longer around, except for the free-to-play model. It's going to be on Tera's plate now to get that interest in and to create that future interest in that combat style, and to sort of shy away from the tab target.
I really agree with you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Irony.
Thank you. Aren't you planning on playing just Guild Wars 2 Malice?
I am. I'm actually not even focusing on Tera, but I have done my research because it is, you know, it's going to be a game of skill. I think. I think that if I had the interest in it, and if I was going to play it, in that level of gaming at this point in my life, I think Tera would be the perfect option. But as of right now, Guild Wars 2 is my focus.
I mean, what really separates you from, you know, if it's such a great combat system where it's non-tab targeting, but Guild Wars 2 also supports tab targeting and dynamic combat and PvP, like why not play both since Guild Wars 2 is not subscription based?
I think it comes down to my personality and to the way things are right now. As far as timing, the timing could be better for Tera. I just got a new job. I'm just got a new full-time loss prevention agent job, so I'm getting into that. I'm starting school as well. Guild Wars falling into the summer, very likely. We're thinking is a lot more convenient for me. But what it comes down to is I've always played one game, and within that game I've always had one character who I've made the best, and I put all the hours into that. So for me to split to 2 games, it would be out of my element, and quite frankly, Guild Wars 2, it seems to have the support of my fellow player as well, where Tera doesn't. With this group now, the way that VexX has been, I am an applicant to VexX, by the way. I'm not a full member yet, but just giving my initial experience with VexX, if I wanted to play Tera, I could now play Tera because VexX has the preparation, they have the dedication towards it, and they definitely have the interest. So I actually have not ruled it out yet. Seeing how my schedule falls, I know the support will be there, and I would be interested in considering it.
So what do you think about the team deathmatch aspect of Tera Online? Do you think that that is something that's going to make people interested in the game, or do you just think that that's kind of something that fills content into the game for the people that have been following it?
I think that I've been pushing Team Deathmatch since I started World of Warcraft when I was 14 years old. I think that Team Deathmatch as an option it's excellent. You can't not have fun in Team Deathmatch, even if in the end you got 99 kills and they got 100 and they beat you. You're playing Team Deathmatch. There's structure to it to a point, but I think if you really go in with the right attitude and you know you're playing Team Deathmatch, there's no objectives, you are just focusing on killing, which any decent PvP or any organized group specializes in. I think that it's a great addition to the game, and I hope that other games follow that. In fact, I can't remember an MMO, I can't think of an MMO that has actually had a Team Deathmatch version in it, and I think that is phenomenal, and I hope that Guild Wars follows it as well, and I hope that future MMOs follow it, because there's nothing better than just at the end of the night picking 5 or 8 people and just killing each other. There's not that much structure, there's not that much high energy, high stress, but at the same time you're just getting all of that aggression that you wish you could put into those structured games, into those competitive games with collapse and split style objectives, and you're just killing. And at this point, it's mindless, and it's fun, and it's hilarious.
What I like about it is that it's also another way to kind of show off your guild, because in Tera, there's going to be smaller guilds and bigger guilds, and there's going to be mega guilds. I mean, there's going to be guilds. From beta, my experience, there is multiple guilds that had 300 players, but there's also multiple guilds that had 5 or 6 players. So it's giving the ability for the people that don't want to have a really large guild, that only have a set group of like 5 or 6 players, the ability to do something that's going to be able to give them a name in the game. They can go around and they can say, we wagered this amount of gold on our fucking best team, and that's how we're going to do it. And I think that that's a great idea for people. I really think that that's going to make, some people that may not have played it because they were worried about, they didn't want to be able to join a huge guild, they didn't want to be part of a larger identity. They wanted to play with their 5 friends from home. And that's giving them the ability to be able to do something in-game that's going to be able to get their name out there.
Absolutely, I agree. I think it was a smart choice on their part to add a TDM.
All right. Well, Tera is going to be in, I think it's open beta on the 20th, and then you'll be able to level up to level 32. That character will then be transferred over if you pre-ordered to the Head Start, which I believe starts on the 28th of this month and goes into launch day May 1st, which at that point you can get to level 38. At launch day, then you'll be able to level up all the way to all the way up to 60 and complete the game. I expect them to have queues day one, probably for a little while, especially on the server that we chose, Valley of the Titans. It seems like that's going to be a very, very popular server, and we'll see how NMAS deals with it. At the end of the day, I do think that they did the smart thing, how they did their servers. You know, they're expanding the full servers as needed to, to make sure that full guilds will be able to get their players on there. But they're not overestimating anything. And so I think they're giving themselves room enough to be able to make the right choices and have a healthy server population. And it might not work out for some of the other PvP servers, and I think that that's why they only started off with a small amount of PvP servers. So we'll see how that happens.
I do think we lost Malice, but that's alright, I'll carry over for him. Yeah, when I was playing the beta, I felt that's something I was really worried about with the servers for Tera. Because if we think back to like Star Wars: Old Republic on the beta test servers, you always ran in a lot of people.
Moved to your channel.
Oh, we got Malice back. But anyways, I'll continue. We always saw a bunch amount of people on the server during the beta, and that's something in Tera I noticed as well. There's a lot of people, but when you start opening up more servers, that means less and less people in the open world PvP of Tera, which is very heavily focused on open PvP, structured PvP that unfortunately is not going to be open until the summertime. And I just died, sorry.
I totally agree with, how they did it, because you've seen it time and time again with MMOs that come out, and they are looking at the sheer volume of people that are going to be coming out, and playing their game. I think Star Wars: The Old Republic did this. I don't know if they've shut down servers, but I'll use an example of a game that I know that shut down servers was Warhammer. They had a large amount of servers when they first launched, and they had a select amount of servers that were very populated, and they eventually had to shut down servers within the first 2 months of their game, and they had to have people transfer over. And instead of doing it that way, NMAS is saying, hey, we've got this amount of servers, and we need more, we'll make more. But let's see what happens with these 3 servers, and if we don't need them anymore, then we didn't waste your time. If we do need more, then we'll address that as it happens, which I think is the smarter route. And I really think that NMAS is listening to the community and doing the right move with their game so far.
And that's what I love about NMAS and Bluehole, what they're doing. It's just even though I'm really amped up for Guild Wars 2. Tera's making an unbelievable game, even though it's been out in Korea. When they bring it over here and it's on live, I really think if the fan base in that game continues to grow, it's gonna hold a lot of gamers' attentions for a long period of time. And that's a lot of the MMOs that are coming out nowadays. For example, Star Wars: Old Republic. It's all about money and subscription fees, and so they don't really put the time and effort into actually producing a great game for longevity, just rather than that first couple of months of sub fees hitting, and then touche, there goes the game.
Well, we'll see what happens in Tera. We're really excited about it. So hopefully it's going to be one of those games that, it's going to have a niche crowd to it, but it's going to be one of those games that satisfies the PvP craving that a lot of our members have in an action combat style. I think we're going to go ahead and move on to Guild Wars 2. Everybody's really excited about Guild Wars 2. I think that it's probably the most talked about game of the year. VexX is going to have an esports division in that game because the game actually supports that kind of activity. And I'll have Irony talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. What I want to talk about is, so far in the beta, I've heard that they've had some balance issues with cannons and stuff like that, and I'm wondering how you guys feel about that, because it is a capture and hold type of objectives when you go out into the world versus world, and if people are already set up in defenses and the cannons are, you know, set strategically around the place and they're pretty powerful, it's going to make, you know, it's going to be really hard to penetrate defenses, and it's going to almost call for a larger number crowd to be able to overwhelm them.
So let's talk about, for the people who don't know what we're talking about, let's give the current state of cannons in World v. World.
Okay. Well, the current state that I've heard is basically that they're very, very powerful. Like there's cannons, and I think there's ballistas, and basically you can be set up and be, you know, have 4 or 5 people set up and be able to take on a large group of people.
Well, I think, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think the overpowerness compensates for the time consumption to get those down. While you're in the world versus world, you're gaining points, and you can use your in-game money to purchase them, but you don't just purchase them and you place it down on the ground. You actually have to build it, and you can upgrade it. There's a lot more in-depth of the materials that they give you in the game for, say, the cannonball. I mean, you throw it out on the ground. It's not that it just boom, it's there. It actually takes time to build it up till you can use it, and then once you build it, you have to upgrade it to effectively do more damage, or keep it up. You have to make sure that nobody attacks it, because once it's down, other players can pick up that can pick it up, or they can destroy it. So I think the overpowerness is well balanced for the time consumption to get those special little items on the ground for World PvP.
I think you're going to see numbers change in the end, but cannons might very well find themselves being the main target of any decent group. If you see a cannon, the first thing that the combat director or the battleground director or the PvP director is going to say is, that cannon needs to die, this group or that group needs to take that cannon down. They could easily remain extremely useful if they are one of those things in games. Let's see, let's find an example here. Let's go back to Dayak. I didn't play too much of Dayak, but if someone saw siege equipment, then the siege equipment went down. It was the first thing that went down. There was nothing else that mattered at that point, and cannons might find themselves on the top of that list. So they might stay where they are at this point, and they might be an essential part to any group. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that you might see them give the nerf bat a little bit so that they can be balanced, but I do think that they are going to be an essential part of taking down when you're in group combat. And I do think the Irony is right, that they're not going to be something that's just thrown down all the time. You know, maybe larger guilds have more access to them, but we'll see how it plays out. I think that it's definitely going to be one of those things that's going to be an element in the game that's going to add a little bit more action. That's for sure.
And I also want to mention that the past active betas, closed betas for Guild Wars 2 has been very NDA strict, and not too many people have been able to get access to the beta. So, I mean, think about it on a live server where there's actual people playing, not just beta players, but a wide scale of people that purchase the game. I mean, also that contradicts on what's going to happen to them turrets. Like, it's not just going to be 3 or 4 people attacking that turret once a live server. It's going to be mass guilds. It's going to be very, very heavy and deep inside that the world versus world.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing that I'd like to bring up to talk about is how you can be representing multiple guilds. I think that this is a really interesting concept, and I'd like to get you guys' feedback on it.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily you can be in multiple guilds. You can represent multiple guilds, as in when you log in, you under, say, your character sheet, you can select the guild that you want to represent, and you can have a range of guilds, different types, PvE guilds, PvP guilds, PvP, RP guilds, a bunch of different aspects, but you can only represent the guild that you're representing. You can't represent more than one, so even though it seems like you're in multiple guilds, you can only be representing one, so
well, you can only be representing one at a time.
Yeah,
you can be
exactly.
in 3 at the, that's the max that you can be in, but you can choose which one you're going to represent at that particular time. So, that's what I'm saying is how do you guys feel about that? Because there's essentially, that means that people could be in multiple guilds, just for information, perhaps. It wouldn't be the first time that people have used an advantage in game to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And this kind of makes that easier for people. Is kind of my opinion about it.
I'm the type of person that's loyalty. I really stick with one, but I mean it depends. Like here, example, you got a hardcore raiding guild, and
user in your channel timed out.
The player that is really hardcore wants to be hardcore, but his family say isn't hardcore, but can't be in the same guild because of that said guild's rules. That way he can be in the hardcore raiding guild and participate with his family inside of another guild representing that guild. You kind of get what I'm saying, Hellraiser?
No, I understand, and that's why we're discussing it. Is there's pros and cons to the system, and I think that one of the pros is that you could have, say like a friend and family group, and you could also be in like a hardcore raiding guild to be able to create your, to quench your PvE thirst or whatever the case may be, however you play. So it gives the player more options, but it also poses problems where you have like guild security. You're allowing this person to represent your label. And maybe this person doesn't have the best intentions to be able to represent your label. Maybe this person was being false about what he was saying to be able to get into your group, and he has other intentions, and it's just making it easier for him to be able to do that. That's just another view, and that's what I was saying.
I don't know, Malice, what's your thought on it?
It provides convenience to me, I think. It allows you to make a choice. Is my guild currently standing up to their standards? If not, is my fallback guild going to have those standards? Are they going to be meeting those standards? It provides you with options, I think. And I think that guild management is going to have to look into at least the hardcore guilds, because there's going to be guilds out there who just, quite frankly, don't care. But the guilds who do care, the guilds who value dedication and activity, I think that you're going to find guilds and their management trying to work with the nature of that type of thing. They're going to have to change how they recruit. They're going to have to change their codes of conduct and maybe a couple of guild rules at that point. You can't do this, you can't do that, and this provides an option to drop tag and pick up another one. So, how do I feel about it? I don't know. I really haven't. I don't think I can form an opinion on it just yet. I don't think that it's going to be something that many Vex members, at least, will find themselves working with. I think that it has the option to maybe switch from being representing Vex to representing Vex competitive. You can use it for little things like that, for little niche identifications. But I don't think that, me personally, I don't find myself utilizing that function.
No, and I think that that's another thing, is that because of the nature of Guild Wars 2, you're going to have the competitive side, you're going to have a lot of different aspects of the game. And just so, like you said, you could have a competitive league for your, and it was under another team that your main guild was on. And I think that that's really a nice option to be able to have. So there's pros and cons to the system, just like there's pros and cons to every system. Alright, World versus World in Guild Wars 2. I am really excited about this. I think that it's about time that a game has picked up an actual sense of RVR and expanding on that system. Because Dark Age of Camelot, even Warhammer's RVR, was extremely fun. And I'm just really excited to see what Guild Wars 2 brings to the table on this one. What do you guys think?
I think we're in for it on this one. I'm going to add a link here to the video once we get it up later on, and it's going to be quite a large World v World map. It doesn't break the NDA. It was released by ArenaNet, and it's a very high def, large scale map of what actually is in World v World. This map, if you take a look at it when we link it, will show you exactly how big this is. It is, I'm going to go ahead and say we're looking at dozens and dozens and dozens of football fields in length of just not only live events but PvP and player versus player, PvE, mini bosses, dynamic events, you name it. World v World has something for everybody. Say World v World is dead at 4 in the morning on your chosen server. You've got other options there to benefit your group and to benefit your server. Not only is the choice to go World v World or server v server one of the greatest ideas that I've ever even heard of, but this now creates options for you to, as a whole, regardless of what group or what guild you're in, benefit one another, to benefit everybody at once. There's the passive buff that you'll see on some different podcasts and some beta videos, and it's a little buff and it provides a little bonus to everything. So if you hold World v World, if you hold a majority, you're benefiting everything that you're doing regardless of where you are and regardless of who you are, as long as you're on that server. Crafting bonus, experience bonus, monetary gain, you've got a little bit of everything. And that to me seems like the collective can finally come together on something. You don't need to be LFG for this or that. You've got everybody doing the same thing and benefiting one another, no matter what they're doing inside that World v World zone.
Yeah, it's going to be really great to see how it works out, and I hope that a lot of people participate in World vs. World, because I think that's one of the big highlights of Guild Wars 2.
The PvPer is definitely going to be the primary pull of Guild Wars 2. The PvPer, I think, is going to find themselves most at home in Guild Wars.
Alright, Irony. Well, we're going to let Irony talk a little bit about the esports division and what they're going to be doing.
Right now, currently, we are full, but we're open for recruitment right now. We are working on a second team, but currently we are looking at Guild Wars 2 as a great opportunity to get into some competitive gaming. It's been a while for a lot of us that are on the team. We're all new to esports. But the game itself really supports tournament-based gameplay. It has a built-in tournament system within the game itself where you can hold weekly tournaments, monthly tournaments, yearly tournaments, and player-based tournaments. So, for example, for the last one, because a lot of people have questions about that one, yes, VexX Gaming can host our own tournament within the game itself and hold our own prizes within the game for a week, and other people on the community of the server can join that and win. They could, I mean, there's so much stuff to do in Guild Wars 2 with the PvP. Before I go any further with the esports thing, a lot more people ask about the World versus World, how the scaling goes up with level. Now, most games scale up level and kind of gives you extra stats and stuff, like Star Wars Old Republic did. The Guild Wars 2 is going to do a little bit something different. They're going to, yes, scale you up to max level, which is 80, or is 85, sorry. but you're not going to have the gear as like everybody else. Somebody that's already max level has all their PvP gear, all their vanity, all that great stuff. The level 5 isn't going to get it. They're just going to be 80 and they're going to get rocked on. It's not going to be fair, yes, but that's what open world PvP is. They save all the skilled PvP for the tournament-based, instant-based PvP in the game. So the people that want to go into the world versus world, it's great to level because you can always get XP from there, just like the PvP in the structured PvP. But you're not in the even playing field, unlike the tournament-based system, because that's just the way ArenaNet wants that game to be. It pushes people to go into the arena system a little bit more. Say a level 10 wants to go PvP, they can go in and play on the even slate. Same gear, almost the same stats. There's runes and ignits that can go into your gear, but that's a whole nother subject. And it's very even, very fair, and that's why it's going to be introduced in the esports. There's a lot of sites right now that are prepping for that, and it's going to be very big. It's going to be as big as, I personally think, StarCraft 2, which is Blizzard's top dog right now for PvP. That game has got a fan base of 1 billion. So I think Guild Wars 2 can really, if ArenaNet stays on the ball and continues what they're doing without slumping down, and as some other companies do, they could have a great game and a great competitive league inside the game. But that's all I really want to say about the team as of right now. But if you're interested, check out our website at www.vexgaming.com, and you'll see all the information about the esports team on there. And if you have anything else to add about the structured PvP, Hell, go ahead. I know you were saying something earlier.
No, I just was going to elaborate on the tournament play. We'll actually be holding a tournament once the game launches, and we'll have prizes for that. That's just something that's going to be up and coming, and something that we're going to really enjoy doing. So keep a lookout on that. We were going to talk a little bit about some upcoming games, and then we're going to go ahead and move on and wrap this up, because there's just a few games that we want to talk about. There's a lot of games that are coming out that really just don't interest us, and maybe at one point in time we'll have a review on them. But the games that we're going to talk about are kind of the ones that are hot for Vex, that are kind of keeping an eye on. So, the first one is Firefall. I don't know if you guys have played this game. I've been playing it for a little bit. It just had its NDA removed, so I can talk about it a little bit more. It's open 24/7 beta now for people that have actually been allowed in. I don't know when they're allowing more people in. The game has got some pretty interesting gameplay. If I were to have to compare it to anything, I would say that it's like a mix between Borderlands and Global Agenda, high-res's game. It's got the same kind of character makeup as Global Agenda, and it's got the same kind of art style and worlds that Borderlands has, so it's really cool. It's all instance PvP as of right now, so it's like, you know, you queue up for a match and you wait until it pops, and then you go into like team deathmatch oriented games, or capture the flag, or capture and hold, things like that. And it is really, really fun. One of the big highlights of the game that they try to say is like their big highlight is that it's a really big open world for PvE. There's a lot of different monsters in the world, and the world is rather big. They have a lot of different structures. They have a bunch of different things to do. Their main thing is resource harvesting, and they have these things called thumpers, which you can get blueprints to and then make in the game. These thumpers are basically orbital strikes that come down from the air, and they mine into the ground, and you're able to collect the resources. They have different grades of them, from light to heavy, so they're bigger, and they each have a different encounter. So when you throw these down, not only does it kind of aggro all the monsters that are in your area, but it also starts this random encounter of monsters, and there could be a number of different monsters that spawn. So it's pretty cool. I think that it might be a hot game if they do something that's meaningful, like meaningful PvP. Because their PvP system right now is just instance-based PvP. So I'm going to ask the question, do you think that a game that has an open-world PvE system can survive without having open-world PvP system?
That could go either way, given my experience. If it doesn't have the open PvP system, then you're very simply not going to have the true PvP crowd. And how many subscriptions is that out of your total? I couldn't say. I know that Star Wars: The Old Republic lost a lot of players because the Elm system just didn't work out for people. And open world is more and more popular every time I see a new game come out. I see groups focused on this type of thing. But the more vocal crowds, they tend to be the PvEers. They tend to be the dungeon raiders. And I think that game companies list their priorities from what those people say. And when they get those loud crowds coming in and shouting for PvE, PvP suffers. And through that, like I said, you're going to be losing those subs. So can Firefall survive without open PvP? I think it can survive, but will it flourish? That remains to be seen.
It's going to be kind of like, Crimecraft. Crimecraft doesn't have open world PvP, but it also doesn't have open world PvE. It's been an instance-oriented game since the beginning, and it's been rather successful in moderation. I think that I think it's been going for 2 years now, and it's actually having updates, and people are playing it quite often. So I mean, I just think that when you have an open world environment, it draws people that like an open world environment, and then from the open world environment, people sort of expect to have something to do with PvP in that open world environment. And I guess the arena-based combat is kind of where they're going with it. But I in my personal opinion, I think that they could have a wider span of people if they focused on not just the arena-style combat, but also some kind of open world environment combat. Maybe a conquest system of some form.
I agree 100%.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen with Firefall. It doesn't have a release date. It is going to be a free-to-play game. I'll probably do a review on it sometime later and let everybody kind of see what it looks like. We'll have Irony stream it or something like that, and he'll give it a shot on my account. We'll figure something out. I think he actually has his own account. The other game that I wanted to talk about was PlanetSide 2. This is going to be another game that a lot of people in Vex are waiting for. And I think everybody's main concern is it's Sony making the game. So let's talk about that. PlanetSide 2 and Sony. What do you guys feel that PlanetSide 2 is going to bring to the table, and do you really trust Sony to be able to provide that?
Sony's on the rocks right now with a lot of people. They've gone through more than most companies go through in a lifetime, and the fact that they're even still here, that could say something. But I think PlanetSide 2's gameplay videos that have been recently released, I believe they were at GDC in San Francisco, letting people play.
Yes, they were.
I'm actually looking at some videos right now, and you can tell that the game is still being worked on, but as a whole, if they deliver on everything that they've been speaking about and showing off, I think you've got a real winner here with this game. I think that not only do you have the PlanetSide name, so you have a large fan base already, this game is going to appeal to people who never played PlanetSide 1, and that is. It's clear by the way that the game feels and looks. It's an iron sight shooter, but at the same time, it's so much more than that. It's a game where you could get into an aircraft or a dropship and fly over a base and drop 15, 20 guys, 20 of your clanmates onto a massive base that was created in great detail with full internals and everything, and actually live out an airdrop. with your friends online. I don't remember. I don't believe that PlanetSide 2 is a subscription-based shooter. I believe it's you buy it once and it's just like Battlefield 3.
Yes.
And that to me, if you've got the PC to run it, I don't know the specs, but I'm pretty sure it's in the mid to high range. If you've got the PC to run it, I think that PlanetSide 2 is going to be a massive success. I don't think that you could possibly screw it up because it's basic and it's not basic, but they touch on things that gamers want. They want aircraft in their games. They want these massive worlds. They want these bases. They want this clan warfare, and PlanetSide has always delivered that. So as long as they can stick to the fundamentals of PlanetSide 1, I think you're going to have a massive game here and a massive success.
I think you're right. One thing I have to say about Sony is that they haven't really delivered a quality MMO in a long while, or if they have delivered a quality MMO, it's been changed and modified in a way where they have lost a lot of their fan base. I think that they're not going to go away as a company because of the fact that Sony is just a name that has their hand in everything. You can't just look at Sony as just, oh, they're making MMOs. They make everything from TVs to stereos to PlayStation 3, and I think a lot of the revenue to be able to publish MMOs and to be able to publish games is coming from that. But you're right. PlanetSide has a really big fan base, and it's also, it was a formula that they came up with a long time ago, and as long as they stick with that formula and just enhance it, I think that it's going to be a very successful game. One of my really big fears is that when I read, and I think I'll probably try to find a link for it that I read about PlanetSide, is they're talking about how shields are going to regenerate now, and there's going to be things that you can do to be able to regenerate your shields faster. And I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, because if anybody ever played PlanetSide 1, you remember how lengthy the battles got back then. I mean, I've been in battles in PlanetSide 1 that lasted 2 weeks. You'd stay in the same spot for almost 3 days until you were able to get, somebody in the back door or whatever the case may be. And with regenning shields, I think that may lengthen the time the battles are spent. Is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. It just depends on how fun the gameplay is and how attention-grabbing it is while you're in that world. So
I've caught some videos here of PlanetSide showing off the TTK, the time to kill. And the time to kill is extremely low compared to PlanetSide 1. You would have to stick a TR chain gun on someone for 5 or 6 seconds at some points to get a kill.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore. I think that those regenning shields are matching the fact that once your shields are down, you're dying after the next couple shots. So it's not going to be a chain shooter anymore where you're going to have to stick someone and fire, sort of like Halo prior to the BR. You can take headshots in Halo now and kill very quickly, but if you were to not take those headshots, you would be shooting, and then they would die. It's almost cut in half for PlanetSide 2. As soon as you point that gun at them and you release, if you connect those couple shots, they're going down. They're not going to be able to just run away as easily as they could in PlanetSide 1. So the TTK.
So they're making it a little more shooter-oriented than it was.
Right. Exactly. It's more about how well you shoot versus how well you can sort of work with your shields and other things like that. It's going to be more comfortable for people that are used to the Battlefield 3 Call of Duty style shooter. It's going to be less comfortable for the people who are used to the Halo and the PlanetSide 1 aspect, but I think that most gamers, anybody who can play these games, is going to be just fine with the time to kill in this game. It doesn't look like it's too high, and I think as people get their upgrades and as people become better, it'll become less of a focus.
Wonderful. Well, we're really looking forward to PlanetSide 2. I know that if you've got the, I think it was the PC Gamer April edition, that it came with a beta key for PlanetSide 2, and you were basically guaranteed a spot in their beta. We don't know when that's going to be. Obviously, it's probably going to have some form of NDA on it, but as more information is released on PlanetSide 2, we'll try to keep everybody updated, and we'll have talks about it. I think that's pretty much it. I really thank everybody for watching our very first podcast. It's kind of, like I said, rough, and hopefully we'll be able to refine everything and make it a nice thing for everybody to watch every week or every month as we do it. So I am Hellraiser, and Irony and Malice are with me, and we're signing off saying thank you and goodbye.